Hello, everybody. How you doing? Hope you guys are making tons of money with your ad campaigns. Here we are for another live Q&A. We get to ask anything you want from the PPC genius that brings you all that content every day about Google Ads, also about Facebook ads, other types of online advertising, which is the sole thing that we get to talk about on this channel here on Guaranteed PPC. So hopefully you guys have some good questions here today. I mean, as you usually do, I'm looking for some outside the box type questions, stuff that's never been asked before, stuff that'll get people thinking, ideally. But the routine, I'm also happy with answering as well. As usual, I'll start out the live Q&A as we ask some questions with some banter or thought-provoking conversation or speech here, if you want to call it that, or preamble. So first of all, hi, Hamza. Hi, Honey Hugs. You're a trooper. You're here every single time now. Same with Hamza. You're my best, most frequent supporters here on the lives. Anyway, Carousel, favorite part of the week. Wow. That is something just like I would wait for when I had a regular job, wait for the weekend so I could do partying. Sounds like you're just waiting for the live Q&A to hit. Hi, Mustafa. Yeah, had an okay weekend, I guess. Nothing too exciting, but it was okay. And for me, at this time in my life, as long as nothing goes bad, I'm happy. High school me money. Before I answer your question, hi Gaston. Before I get into answer your question, my preamble, keep it short today. So the main thing that I see with, most of you guys watch my videos because of Google Ads. That's where I have most of my expertise, and people would call me a Google Ads guy. I mentioned this on some of my recent videos. I've been mentioning it more. Where Google Ads started 20 years ago, closer to 25 years ago when the program first started, it was very much more simple to make money on the platform. Any basic business owner with some common sense to him could make money with it. You didn't have to be an advertising specialist or genius. You didn't have to be an excellent or specialist copywriter or anything like that. If you just had above average IQ, you could pretty much make money by default. And the main reason why that is it was less competitive, yes. And Google also kind of made it more attractive to attract customers, and hadn't got to the greedy stage yet. But more important that I want to hammer here in is the people that I see that are making money with Google Ads nowadays versus the ones that don't. And I have tons of people coming through my door, coaching, consulting. It's really just down to the details. The people that try to oversimplify it and think they can get by with just talking to a Google rep or something like that, unless you have a really strong brand already that people are just going to buy from you because you are the brand in that space and everybody knows it. That's the thing that, the pride, if you will, that comes before the fall. People are overly, they're trying to make it more simplistic than it is. I hate the fact that it's so technical, even myself, even though it supports, getting clients that are business. Google's changing stuff faster and faster all the time. I mean, you got to be a damn technical expert now just to run an account with server-side tracking, understanding how that stuff all works, because you now have ad blockers blocking tracking scripts. And then you have ways to get the ad blockers to stop blocking the tracking scripts. And then you have the ad blockers trying to stop what we're doing to stop the blocking of the tracking scripts. And it just goes back and forth. And we got to learn how to constantly stay one step ahead of the ad blockers, which is it's nuts. Then, from that to, consent mode and, having a cookie consent banner, screwing with tracking, and have to understand the technicalities of this. and click fraud and understanding how people are doing click fraud. And it's becoming same thing with the tracking and the ad blockers. It's just a constant war. You do something to block the click fraud attempts, they're going to adapt and find new ways to do it. And it's more so making money with Google Ads is like war nowadays versus, just showing up, doing the steps, and then it will basically work fine. Now, there's certainly a formula to it, but that's changing all the time. And the days are gone where you could just set it up and be like, okay, we're good here. I'm making money. I can go hang out on the beach now. It's just progressively. You thought you had it, but now something's changed. Now you got to keep investing into learning how it works now. All this works to your advantage if you just are the one who studies. But the biggest thing that separates out the people that make millions and the people that don't make anything are the people that are going to treat it like it's a brain surgery versus, I'm not going to take it that serious. And then what the tendency is to blame Google. Oh, Google doesn't work anymore. ChatGPT is eating their lunch. Google doesn't have the sway over the populace as they used to. Now, ChatGPT, I know because I have the traffic logs. It's maybe an average of 3 to 5% of the leads that you're going to get on an ongoing basis when you have a PPC campaign ramped up, if you're lucky. A lot of markets, it's like 1% or less. People that are using ChatGPT to search for products and services, but not nearly as much as what you would think by reading the news and the headlines and all the rest of it. So the tendency is to blame that, and that's just basically loser mentality. I'm not saying that because I'm looking for business. Trust me, I don't really care. I have enough clients coming in as is. I don't need to screw around and lie to people in order to get their business anymore. Once you realize that if your ads don't work, it's your fault and it's not Google's fault, even though Google's a greedy bastard and they do all this evil crap. Yes, they do. When you read their antitrust court proceedings, you see all kinds of shady shit they're doing. 100% they're doing all that. At the same time, it's not a conspiracy. Your competitors that are advertising aren't just doing it for shits and giggles. They're there, they're making money. And if it's not making money for you as a result, when there's that proof of concept there, it's really on you. So once you start thinking with an empowerment mentality versus a victim mentality, you'll win. And yes, it takes becoming a real student of it to make it work now, but that's how things have rolled. But to sum it all up, it doesn't have to be something you're pissed off about. I mean, once you learn the basics and you're making money, it's not that hard to just keep up on stuff. Maybe once a quarter, something significantly changes. You got to adapt to that, and then you're fine. Whereas if it were a level playing field where everybody could get it done in 2 seconds, then there would be no money for anybody really at the end of the day. You want it to be difficult so that when you are on top, most of the money just flows to you. And that's really how it works nowadays. There's no, just barely trying and making okay money. It's basically all funneling to the top now. And you get to where you're a technical PPC person or you don't make anything. The same thing technically applies with Facebook ads and the other mainstream ad platforms. Why? Because it's all algorithmically driven. All these technical little points matter. So, and it's more competitive. So not only do you have to be an ad copywriting expert, you have to be a technical expert, and you have to understand all these technicalities that are going to throw your stuff off track, even if you have the best ad language and you understand your customer and all this stuff. Very rarely can you know almost nothing about PPC nowadays and make great money at it, unless you are in a market where your product's clearly and obviously 10 times better at least than all the competition that you have. Then you don't have to know jack shit about PPC. So if you don't want to learn about PPC, learn how to make your product or service obviously better in that regard at least. For the rest of you guys that are going to have marginal differences in your product, you're going to have to become a PPC expert because the internet is a pay-to-play place now. You have to buy ads. And you got to learn how to create ads that pay for themselves so you can scale them. And that's going to be the person who takes over every market and every niche. So might as well be you. Anyway, thanks for coming, guys. Hopefully that was motivating to you versus depressing, or more so depressing. We'll start with School Me Money. Hey, Corey, when you run SKAG, do you put both in one ad group or separate ad groups? So I assume you're talking about both match types of the same keyword. And the answer to that is I put both of them in the same ad group, exact and phrase. That said, guys, a good rule to follow, as I've mentioned many times on my videos, is you have plenty of time to go broad when you aren't getting enough clicks. The tendency is, let's just go super broad. Oh shit, all my money's gone. Oh shit, Google is a scam. I'm out of the game and I don't have any money left. Go super tight at the beginning, and then you can easily just add in extra stuff to get you extra clicks. Go after the stuff that's most profitable first. So start with just exact match. See if you can get by with just that. You're not going to have to do nearly as much optimization to get the profitability. And then you can add your phrase match later, of which you add it in the same ad groups, of which it's, if you're particularly anal about getting a return right away, which obviously most people are, only add 4 or 5 word keyword phrases in phrase match first. Then add the three word phrases. Three-way. My mind's in the gutter. Two word phrases last. Why? Because they run more wild when they're shorter in phrase match. So that's just some good tips to go by. Gaston, hey Corey, what's up, man? Flame and Anvil. If I run a shopping campaign and feed only PMAX with same products, will they compete, waste money? I'm trying to get PMAX to show for new products. I added trying to speed it up. So that's a good question. Things have changed recently. Just to give you a quick backstory or history of this. So initially, you could run PMAX and shopping at the same time, and they would both get action. Then Google made a policy update change about 2 years ago or around there, where PMAX would take precedent over standard shopping. About 3 months ago or so, 3 to 6 months ago, they came out and said, hey, you could run standard shopping with PMAX at the same time again. They'll both get action, which, this goes back to what I said at for the preamble of this live, that, you can't just set and forget with Google Ads anymore. They're changing the rules time to time. So for that matter, yes, you can run them both at the same time. What I typically, normally they would compete with each other. Yes. And I only run feed only PMAX. So there's really no need to run both, except for to use the standard shopping as like a backup. Sometimes if we have a situation where the PMAX demand somehow collapses, we can use the standard shopping to kind of fill the gap on impressions. So we'll leave it at a small budget. And if we have to have like an emergency to get the impressions up on shopping placements, we can use the standard shopping to do it. That's the way that I use both of them in combination, because realistically, there's no reason to have them both running at the same time, because ultimately they're, one's going to fire or the other. You're not going to get 2 placements on shopping just because you have 2 campaigns running or anything like that. By the way, though, and I know this is a controversial thing that people will say, one of the best strategies with shopping is to add the same products that are the hot sellers within the same PMAX feed only campaign multiple times. You just name that product slightly different so that it looks unique to Google, and you can take over the entire shopping block, which is an anti-competitive business practice technically, but it works, and Google doesn't do anything if you do that, as long as the metrics are good, your click-through rate's good, conversion rates are good. So yeah, that's the main thing I would tell you there. Flame and Anvil. Does feed only work in Microsoft Ads, Corey, as they allow you to import your PMAX directly from Google? But I'm wondering how good the AI in Microsoft Ads is. Thanks. So yes, it does work. Weirdly, shopping is not the main moneymaker in Microsoft ads. It can make money, particularly long-term, after you've had a lot of data to train the algorithm. It's super slow to get going in the beginning. And there's really nothing that you did wrong to cause that. That's just how the system operates. It's very sluggish. Eventually, you run it for 6 months, a year plus, shopping will be on par or similar to what the search campaign should be able to produce for you. But the search is the main thing that pulls at the beginning. And I think mainly that is because Microsoft doesn't have as many shopping placements in the search results, more so than what Google does. They really hammer those. What's the best way to avoid click fraud? Okay, so this could be a whole live just on click fraud. And actually, I think at some point I'm going to do something like that, like a podcast about it, just directly, because it's getting to be such a big hot topic now and such a big issue with it. Mainly, I cannot go through all the particulars on this, but anymore, the new method to fix it is like a 3-prong approach. One, you go and you look at your traffic logs and you try to figure out what segments of your traffic when you sub-segment and all your traffic as far as you can go that look like they're anomalies, and then you get rid of those. 2 is you do revenue tracking and then smart bidding so that the bad traffic gets filtered out over time that way. And then 3, you use some sort of inner site entry blocking. So traffic comes into the site, it's analyzed by some sort of software or script to see if it looks like it's a fraudulent user. And then if it is, it's kicked off the site before it gets to the ad account. And then that way you'll get credited by Google and Facebook for the fraudulent clicks. It automatically refunds you. That's the little now hidden trick. Now, problem with that is that's not cheap generally to do. For WordPress sites, you can do that with CPCs now, technically, as a part of one of their features of the program. If you're anything but that, you're going to drop a couple grand a month to do it effectively, either with a Cloudflare account to do it effectively, not half-assed, or like a Check IQ software, anti-click fraud software that is constantly staying abreast of how these dickheads that are doing this are doing it, and then being able to block those people from entering the website, updating the definition list, tests, challenges that they send the traffic through before they're able to get to the site. So that's the main thing. There's other stuff I could mention. Don't have time to go through all the particulars. Go ahead, by the way, and watch all my videos about click fraud. And I have some really good ones coming out in the next couple months, by the way. So stay tuned for that. You mean literally just go to my channel homepage in the search bar. I tell people this all the time, by the way. Pretty much if you have a question about PPC almost and want like a tutorial, there's probably one. I made 1,500 videos now. So altogether, you go to the search bar, you search for click fraud, watch my videos about that, and you'll start getting educated. There's a lot to know about it. Carousel. If Google search is a no for affiliate marketing, but display works, where do Facebook and YouTube fit in? Okay. So there is, essentially for search, you can make money, but it's not affiliate marketing per se based. You're selling leads. If you want to call that affiliate marketing, you can call it that. You can make money doing that. Or what we call hot transfers, where you're answering the phone. You have your own call center. You take the calls in, you pre-qualify the calls. You ask them, like, do you have money? Are you alive? Whatever. Then once they check out to that level, then you call up your partner and then you send them through, or maybe you just send them through without talking to them. And then you work out a deal where you're getting paid for every transfer. But search wise, that's where the money is. And, with, like other networks, display network, YouTube, Facebook, any other place besides search where the traffic isn't nearly as expensive, because the affiliate margin that you have is so small that unless you're getting clicks for pennies, it's hard to make any money. So with that said, yeah, you can run ads in these other places. It's going to be super hard to make money even on Facebook. The cost per click is still going to be way too high. And the money in affiliate marketing, really what the people that make the most money are able to take cheap and overlooked traffic sources and make money from them. Why they're cheap? Because other people, they're overlooked because people don't know how to monetize them. So you're actually being paid as an affiliate to monetize traffic sources that the company itself, as well as mostly any other company, can't monetize that traffic source, whether that be mobile app, push ads, whether you're going to do display network traffic, YouTube, whatever it is. So, insert the name of weird traffic source, testing different stuff, and then finding something that works. That said, Facebook is too expensive, I would say, generally speaking. YouTube can work because still YouTube is very underutilized because people don't believe in it, because to make a good YouTube ad, it takes a lot of skill. It's just like saying, back in the day, infomercials. Anybody can run an infomercial on TV, but only less than 1% of people that run one can make it well enough to convert the eyeballs at a high enough rate to make money. The same thing applies as affiliate marketing. Anybody can do it. Only the absolute grandmasters of marketing and advertising are going to be able to take that cheap, shitty traffic source and make it work. And that's what you're being paid for. If it were just simply showing up and doing the basic shit, they wouldn't need you. The company would just do it themselves. So for the big one anymore still is display network traffic, because nobody can monetize that. And if you can figure out a way to monetize that, that works. YouTube is the other big one for sure. And you've got a lot of other, you could do like Taboola ads, but you got to really know what you're doing there. For the most part, if I were to do it, I'm going to run YouTube and also display, because it's cheap and overlooked, but also decently quality. It's not riddled with bots. Long Gamma. I have been running the same ad campaign for 5 years. 90% of conversions have been form fills. 2 months ago, it changes to 95% phone calls. What did Google change? Interesting. The main thing that could have happened is your tracking changed. It like broke, or you suddenly now track calls more efficiently, so it's able to optimize for them. That's something I normally don't see. So I would think that there's some sort of, my guess would be related to the tracking. The tracking's changed up to some regard, because normally a niche is either heavy forms or heavy calls. And it just doesn't suddenly change based upon the market changing itself fundamentally. 0 day. I have my cost of goods entered into Shopify. I noticed that info is ending up in my Google product feed. Should I worry about Google charging me more? That's a good question. We've ran experiments before, by the way, guys, on where you add even like the conversion value into your conversion goal to see if Google would take advantage of the fact that they knew you were making a lot of money, and they will take advantage of this in some regard. but not always, but often. Is it enough for you to not do it and not take advantage of the smart bidding algorithms? No, it's not. So yes, they could actually end up juicing your cost per click because of this. The main thing would be itself. So the short of it is yes, they could certainly. That said, you can compensate for this by just setting a higher ROAS target on your campaigns, and you're not going to go into negative ROI territory, if you will, which is why I also don't worry about it. What Google's going to do with my data, because you're still in charge with smart bidding as to what you're going to pay for a conversion. So they can try to juice the numbers all day, short term, but if they can't get you the sale at the ROI that you want, then they're going to have to back off anyway, and they're going to get back in line anyway. But we've actually literally seen a short-term shift just by giving them that data. Their system obviously has something built within it that says, hey, this return looks better than what other competitors get, so therefore we can screw around with this guy and up his cost per click some, which you can go ahead and look at Google's antitrust court proceedings to see kind of games that they're playing. So I would say if your ROAS goes down, then just set your ROAS higher and just to recompensate for it. In the long run, I'm not going to give them the cost of goods myself in particular. I give them the revenue because I have to get smart bidding to work correctly. But instead of giving them all that extra data, I'm going to set up separate campaigns to target different categories of items that have different cost of goods. And then I'm going to have a different ROAS target for each campaign based upon the cost of goods percentage of total sales, or the A cost, some people call it, and not let Google know down to the penny my profit margin. Because why do that? Because of what I said. We got to tell them what sells, but we don't have to tell them our profit margins. We can just keep that, close to the hip itself. Solomon David, what's the best template pack from you for locksmith ads PPC? You mean, so first of all, if he's referring to my template, so there's been a lot of interest in our template. So if we worked in a market like being, locksmiths in one city, it makes no sense to try to build a winning locksmith campaign in another city that you're in when you could just use the winning template we've already got in another city, which we can tell you the cost per lead you're going to get with it up front and the closing rate and stuff like that. So that's what he's referring to here. And we give you the ads, the landing pages, all of it. That said, so mainly what we've been doing with locksmiths, instead of just targeting people that are typing in like locksmith near me and stuff like that, we would do auto lockouts specifically. And the cost per lead on that, what was that again? It's been a while since the last time I've run that. Actually message me in my Discord or in the comments so I can get you the exact right number there, what we did on that last time. But the auto lockout is actually, I found out, works pretty good. So you're not going to get a bunch of bullshit leads. Every one of those is solid. And the price you pay for the lead is similar to what you would get. It's kind of similar to the plumbing space. You could target plumber near me, but it could be everything from a broken toilet to a sewer line that they need a quote on. Whereas if you target hot water heater services, every lead is going to be at a certain level and a certain level of seriousness itself, which is in services, that's a really good angle to go if you can, and you can get by with less volume. So that is what I would say for the locksmith space, what's worked well. So much so that what I would recommend someone to do is create a whole website targeting just auto lockout stuff. Auto lockout Denver. So you'll get a higher conversion rate, and just go that one angle with it. Hamza, what is your opinion about Google Ads' new policy about call ads? Google has just paused the call ads and will allow run call extension only. Yeah, so far, weirdly, I haven't seen them actually shut it down yet, even though they were supposed to. Certainly that's going to be coming. And a regular responsive search ad with a call asset attached to it is going to be the next best thing itself. And it won't be the end of the world because everybody's forced to do that. So it's all on a level playing field again. Dracon, what's up, man? Ava Lasta, hey, I do long distance moving PPC and seeing a lot of swing. Usually when I relaunch the campaign, the first couple of days, it does amazing and then kind of dies out. We spent 1.5K a day. Wow, big spender. Okay, so this is another kind of phenomenon that you'll see with Google Ads, where you'll initially start a campaign. They'll give you some good leads at the beginning to kind of get you excited. And then it goes away. The games that Google's playing with this makes sense, right? Because what most amateur advertisers are doing is they're going to start a campaign and they're going to pay attention to it for a couple days. And then if they see calls coming in, they're like, oh, great, it's working. Now I can work on my payroll, or I can work on hiring this guy. And then your eyes off the ball, and you start giving you shit quality leads again, which is what you deserve early on, until you've built up a reputation with the algorithm as to know that you can convert better than your competition. So you should get most of the good traffic. And it needs data to actually do that. But at the very beginning, you're going to play a little around with you a little bit. But also, when that happens, it's also because they need to also give you some data at the beginning to kind of measure how good you are. If you suddenly are doing really, really well, they'll keep rolling with it. If they give you a little bit of data to quickly get a read on what you got, and you're doing really shitty compared to the competition, then they'll just start to ramp you down, and it will never come back, which I've seen more and more guys that I've audited recently where they are doing exactly what you're saying. Like they'll run a campaign for a week, shut it down, run a new campaign for a week, shut it down. And the reality is that is happening either because the market dynamics have changed. The cost per click is higher because people in your market are willing to pay more. So, ultimately it's, unless you get this favoring from Google at the beginning to get you excited, it doesn't make sense. Or your setup isn't as good as your competition, which means you just have to be better. And, starting and stopping campaigns like that is never going to give you stable results. So the real only answer for the most part is get better. Because even if the market participants are willing to pay more per click, or you're just getting downgraded by Google's algorithm because you're not producing as good a user experience for their users, the solution is still the same. You have to be better. You have to have better ads, better click-through rate. You got better conversion rates. And also important now is reviews on your Google business profile, if that exists or is related to your business, if you have one, in other words, because they don't want to see they're sending traffic to people that are ripping people off or even providing average results. They want to see people that just blow their customers away, because then they're going to come back to Google next time they have a need. So whereas it may not seem fair on the surface that they're screwing around with you and downgrading your ad like that, even though you're a good paying customer, to you as the user of Google, this is what you ultimately want. You don't want to go to Google and then, be confused by what you're seeing and then have to dig through 3 pages on the website to even see if they offer something that you need, or think too hard to figure out if they have what you need. You don't want to do all this. You want an answer as quickly as humanly freaking possible. And the more better you are at doing that for their users, the more Google's going to want to push you out into the forefront with better cost per click, higher quality traffic that converts at a higher rate. And you only get there by beating your competition. And, you know, a lot of guys will, I mean, I'm not putting you into this box here, but I see a lot of guys, they'll be like, well, my competition's not that good. And I look at their stuff. Yeah, it's not that much better, but it's still better. And they don't see why it's better. Ultimately, you can get by with even the same landing page as them. If they have better ads, they're still going to win. It's landing page and ad, both that get measured 50-50 kind of pretty much on each. And so the beauty about Google Ads is you always get a chance to win. It's not like one of those rigged circus games where it just looks like you can win and then you go in there and you play it, because that's what people think it is, right? It's just like a scam. Oh, I threw 100 rings at these glass bottles. The ring never stayed on there. What? It's a scam. No, it's not. Google wants you to make millions of dollars. They want you to come in and just blow everything out of the water. Everything they thought they knew about who serves what the best, this new guy, this big new swinging dick came in and just blew everybody away. And now we want to give all the money directly to this guy. So you either step up to the plate and give it to them, or they're just like, it's another guy, just kind of barely trying. We don't really care. And trust me, once that's who they think you are, you're going to get abused. You're going to get charged a lot for the shittiest clicks. They're going to take the part of the traffic on the keywords that you want to show up for that doesn't convert and give it to you, and give the best part of that keyword's traffic to the leading guys. And that's just the way that it is now. So either have to go all the way with it or not at all. And for that matter, if you're wondering why the new campaigns downgrade so fast like that now, it's also because the other ads that you're running, they're going to judge you on what you're going to do with the new campaign based upon what you did with other campaigns before, which is why, guys, it's so important to not half-ass anything anymore. You half-ass something because you're in a hurry or whatever. Oh, I'm so excited to make so much money with my ads. I'm just going to run this real fast. I'm not going to think about it. And then now Google's like, you're a dipshit. And then when you try to do it seriously later on after that, they're just going to keep thinking you're a dipshit. And then they're going to have 3 strikes against you before you ever start. So you don't want to play games with this stuff. Every single thing you got to do is got to be done with the highest level of thought and foresight and quality possible because of this. Otherwise, you're going to be put into this shit category where all the shit traffic goes. That's the way that it is. So you can always fight your way out of it, by the way, even if they thought you were the lowest scum of the earth. You can always come back and win. It's just going to take longer to get to that other side. You can almost think about it like if you were trying to get in shape and you didn't work out for 2 weeks, you could get back in shape really fast. But if you didn't work out for 2 years, it's going to take longer. That's a great way to kind of think about it. Also, Ava Lasta, we only get a few converted leads a day. It's not enough conversion data. Should we upload qualified leads as a secondary goal? You should always upload qualified leads as a secondary goal. That helps immensely now. That's one of the best strategies you could possibly use for lead generation campaigns is uploading qualified leads to Google Ads. They're going to use it to steer your ads in the direction you want. And you cannot complain about your quality of leads until you've done that, because that's like the most basic thing you should be doing now that nobody wants to do. And that actually gives Google the information they need to get to the quality of leads you want. Flame and Anvil, PMAX won't show some new products. I've added, that's why I asked about shopping. I was going to put them in shopping to force data into my account in the hopes PMAX will see their value then. Okay. So the algorithm is going to tend, like if you, especially when you have a limited budget, but not only, they're going to push the spend to the existing items that they know already convert well over new items. They want to give the new items a chance, But when push comes to shove, they're going to want to send 90% of the traction of your ad spend to the items that already got traction before. Because in terms of getting you the ROAS that you want and to help their users at the highest level, that's the most obvious logical thing to do. So unfortunately, you put new product in there, it's hard to get it seen and noticed and taken seriously by Google, of which starting a new campaign to put that product in there is a very valid way to do it. The downside is then you're spreading your data out between two campaigns, and which matters because the amount of data a campaign has obviously contributes to its overall success. So you always have to like kind of decide, do I want to speed this process up by putting this into a new campaign and sacrifice long-term results with the existing campaign I have? Or do I just want to not worry so much about short-term results on this item, put it in there, let Google slowly test it out, and eventually it'll get traction. And at least then all the products will be within the same campaign. All the conversion data will be within the same campaign. And this campaign will do better overall because it's all consolidated. You always got to make that judgment call for yourself. And I can not tell you whether that's worth it or not, because I don't know how much potential these new items could have. It may be that they're going to do extremely well, of which I would want the new campaign to just right away get it going. Whereas if it's like, they're not that much different than everything else, tendency is I would put it into the existing campaign if I don't think it's going to be a game changer per se. That all said, it does help a lot to have different PMAX campaigns for different categories of items. So if you had new items that were all kind of similar and were different than the existing items in the existing campaign, I would want to have them in a separate campaign anyway, because it's going to scale at a different rate, and I'm going to set my budget for those items separately, and I'm going to scale more efficiently overall, having a different toggle just for those items. So you may want to do it just because of that. Caruso, what are your thoughts about advertising on Rumble and Truth Social? I've got a video about this. You should search for it on my channel homepage in the search bar. But the short of it is, it's pretty shitty unless you have very specific items to sell or services to sell. So basically anything that you're going to sell to somebody who's tinfoil hat wearing type person, RIFD blockers, shit like that, where, like the average person's going to be like, huh? What do you mean I can't radiate my brain and that's not good for me? Holding the cell phone to my head. There's certain people that just are going to know what the value of that is right away. And before I advertise on YouTube, I'd advertise there clearly. And, or like we have had before, gold IRAs. Why, any normie can want to have a gold IRA, but it's way better qualified leads getting a high net worth individual watching Rumble respond to an ad for that, because they already distrust the government. This is like a godsend for them. So depends on what you're promoting and selling. Basically, would it appeal to at least right-wing conservative people, but probably conspiracy-minded people at the same time? The traffic and CPMs are much cheaper than what you're going to find through Google and YouTube, which is why you do it. The problem is the products that just go to Rumble and watch the ads that are showing there. They're the most ridiculous ads. It's like what Google would be if there was no regulations on what you could do. It's like, buy this product and you have one weird trick to melt body fat in 2 seconds. And they'll show like a boiling pot of water with like some bananas in there and then some salt being added, just some weird shit. So you're like, what the hell is that? That's the type of ads you see there. And so therefore, if you're wondering why Google and all this is so strict, by the way, it's because if you see these ads like this and you take on that type of business, other ads that you see, you're going to assume are also bullshit, right? And that are and are also scams. So in order to make people trust what they see, you can't just take on any old customer. Well, Rumble kind of has to. Maybe eventually they'll up their standards, as is all platforms eventually do when they get enough room to be selective. So your ad might run directly after one of those scam ads. And so what you're ultimately fighting against is credibility, right? There is within Rumble now paid shout out, so you can get directly within the platform, get creators on Rumble to shout you out. You could have Alex Jones shout your product out, shit like that. That's 100% recommend doing that and looking into that. But for the normal, like everyday, skippable video ads there, unless it's already catered to, there's a reason that you'd be on that platform specifically. It has the exact audience you want. I wouldn't do it because it's already, you're fighting the lack of credibility right off the bat because of the other ads that are normally shown on that platform. Mustafa, how do you manage stress running so many clients? Okay. First of all, I recommend that you get yourself a good bottle of Johnny Walker or vodka of your choice. And then every time that you're a little bit of stress, you just take a shot. And then you'll never have stress because you'll just be so drunk. No, I'm just joking. Ultimately, it's underrated. But for one, if you work out really, 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 really hard in the gym and do cardio and all this, nothing much bothers you. Exercise is too underrated in terms of fighting off anxiety. Two, back, when for you guys that are running agencies, when you're first starting out, you got to take on just any client. All right. And a lot of clients are just crazy, but you kind of have to work with them anyway because you need the money. Right. And that's the unfortunate truth. So the amount of stress you're going to have working with a bunch of crazy people is going to drive you insane. And my suggestion to you is to get out of that phase of your business as quickly as you possibly can by doing things that make you look authoritative and will bring in more leads or whatever. So eventually, if somebody's looking like they're, not taking their crazy meds, that you don't have to work with them, so that you're working with sane, rational, respectable people. And then you're not going to really have much problems at that point in time. Naturally, also raise your fees. This goes for, by the way, anybody watching this in any business. The more you charge, the better the customers are going to behave. You could charge $1 for a steak at a restaurant, and you'd have assholes actually coming in there and being like, it's overcooked, it's undercooked. You charge $100 for a steak, nobody's going to hardly ever complain. It's such a weird phenomenon that of that, and the reality is people that have money, I think just unfortunately, to say it bluntly, it's too much. It's too trivial to complain about small stuff, but small people that don't have any money, all they have is time to bitch about stuff. And they also have a negative view on life. So you raise your fees so that people that are serious will be working with you, and you are selective about your clients, then everything is fine. That's the approach that I took. Have no problems. And the other thing is, of course, with this channel, it's been a godsend because people that want to hire us, they come pre-trained on the process of how to run ads and so forth. So I don't have to be like, this is important and here's why. And this is also important. This is why. I don't have to fight them at every turn to do what they need to do to get results. They kind of already know it. And that also helps a bunch. I could get into more. That's some basics. Caruso, which one would you test first between display and YouTube? Well, for YouTube, I would do demand gen campaigns. but definitely demand gen campaigns. They are so cherry right now. People barely have caught on to those, and they work extremely well. If you could come up with a decent video ad for your niche market, you can almost guaranteed always make money with that using demand gen nowadays. So for you guys watching this, if you haven't done that, you need to run out today and start doing that. Display, on the other hand, that takes another level of skill to get to work, mainly because otherwise you're just going to get eaten up by bots and you're not going to make anything, and your budget's gone in 2 seconds. Generally speaking, with display, you got to layer your targeting options in order to weed out bots well enough, because that's the main way that you do it. And generally speaking, also on display, there's only certain websites that make money because there's so many that send bot traffic through on top of it. I don't have the time to go through all the details on that. If you want to know how to do either, you should watch my separate dedicated campaigns or videos that I have on those 2 campaign types, and just watch them all, because you literally pretty much everything you need to know to make it work is on those videos. XA7138. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the show. Caruso, which niche do you think would be easier to crack among HELOC, home equity, reverse mortgage, or bathroom remodels, home remodels? And which with what traffic source? When you say easier to crack, I'm assuming for selling leads. I've done all of these except for HELOC. And if you're going to run search ads, you could probably make money doing the HELOC or reverse mortgage if you were good enough at it but you'd have to be doing, you'd have to juice your account with a lot of money up front, probably at least $10,000 in ad spend to get your quality scores up to a level where it would actually make sense. A much more feasible angle would be to run display ads or YouTube ads like we were just talking about earlier for HELOC and reverse mortgage. Bathroom remodels, Facebook ads will work if you can show before and afters, but the problem when you're reselling leads is how do you do that, right? Or offer in-house financing, like $49 a month will get you a new kitchen, and then generate leads and run their credit and all that and sell those leads. That would be a one way to do it. If I'm doing the HELOC or reverse mortgage, I'm going to target people on YouTube that have typed in reverse mortgage on Google recently with custom intent audiences. You can do the same thing with HELOC. And I'm going to say that we have the lowest interest rate available with reverse mortgages, guaranteed, or we're going to give you a $100 gift card for wasting your time if we don't. And then you generate leads that way. You give out a few gift cards if they can prove they got a quote somewhere else, but you'll get the leads so cheap, you should still be able to make the economics of it work. Because if you just say, hey, we offer reverse mortgages, nobody gives a shit, right? What are you doing that's bringing value to the overall process for the business, the consumer, anyone? Ultimately, that's similar to what we've done in the past and what I would do here as well. Because when it comes to HELOC and reverse mortgage, all they give a shit about is the rate, right? Otherwise, every other provider is interchangeable, and I would want to go with a big bank, if anything, because I at least know that they're not going to scam me versus some company I've never heard of, right? Unless you're going to give me a sweet deal. 0 day. How much can I increase my budget at one time on Google Shopping campaign? Is it better to do small increases over a period of time? Yes, it's always better to do smaller increases if you can afford to wait the time to do it. Sometimes, though, your campaign's doing so much better than what you need to in terms of ROAS that you're better off just ripping the Band-Aid off and increasing the budget quickly right away. But if you're teetering right at the level of ROAS you need to be profitable, then you want to usually increase slower at a time, like 15% at a time. The rule generally is shorter term, you do bigger increases. So at the beginning, you might do a 30% increase at a time. Whereas 5 years down the line, you would do a 7% increase to not upset the boat and send the campaigns back into learning mode and have the ROAS dip below the level that it's at, if you will. So that's kind of like the general rules of thumb there. Flame and Anvil. How big of an issue is running out of stock on your top sellers to Google? Fortunately, it's a good question. When we've had a client that had high volume items that would go out of stock, when we get them back in stock, as long as they were good sellers before, they pretty much pick up the slack right away. Google's smart in that regard, right? If something's selling so well it's out of stock, why the hell would we penalize it for being out of stock when it comes in stock again? It already knows that the users like that item. They're just going to keep showing it pretty much right away as it always was before it ran out of stock, right? So fortunately, they're smart enough to not send us back into learning mode when we go out of stock on things itself. So that said, my suggestion to you would be, if you're running out of stock like that, I'd think about raising my prices because to slow things down. And for instance, if you had only 10 items left and you were normally selling 10 a month, right? And you know it's going to take 2 months to get another shipment from China. And so therefore you're probably for sure going to go out of stock. I would raise my prices 20% so that I don't actually run out of stock. I'm probably going to still sell those 10 items and get a little bit more money out of it. And the conversion rate won't drop enough to offset the increase in margin I'm going to get, because they're hot sellers and that's usually how it goes or works. Obviously you can't raise your price to infinity because the conversion rate will drop, but instead of just waiting for products to go out of stock, I'm going to raise the prices. And then, and once I do sort out, I got enough product in stock at all times where I'm never going to go out of stock again, then I'll put my price back to where they were selling at the highest rate possible and then just do my volume game there. That's normally what I tell clients to do. It works pretty well. Oscard, do you recommend using Bing ads for remarketing? What placements there are most valuable? Bing remarketing pretty much sucks for the most part. Okay, it's not going to work nearly as good as Google, and you only do it as a last resort for the most part. That said, it really depends on your niche. If you're in a niche where most people can buy your product, and when I say most, I mean like more than 1% of the general populace could buy your product because it's that ubiquitous and needed. An example would be a mole removal product that we sold before. We even ran regular display ads on Bing ads and cleaned up because that ad could essentially show up for anybody anywhere. And as long as the ad is good enough, it's good. Like, we don't need to know that the person wants to remove a mole to have that ad work. Now, that obviously helps, but enough people have moles and enough people want them removed that if it just shows up for somebody out of nowhere and the ad's good enough and it's cheap enough, which Bing traffic is super cheap, which is why it's a good opportunity, it will actually it'll pay off, right? But otherwise, it seems to not work as well because you're getting in front of more bots on Bing, which is why it's inferior as compared to Google remarketing. By the way, on the last one, just as a final follow-up there, instead of Bing ads, I would rather literally do ad roll before Bing remarketing. That's how shit it is, unless you're in a market like I told you. Caruso, are there spy tools you recommend for demand gen camps or campaigns? Yeah, I wish there were. It's demand gen campaigns are so new, and I presume people are reluctant to create a spy software for it because they think that based upon how fast Google changes shit, by the time they have it all perfected, they'll change it to be doing something else, as they have for over the years here. The same thing's been available in different forms in different ways. That it wouldn't be a good risk to create one, essentially. So there isn't one that I know of, nor do I expect somebody to take the risk of creating one, because it won't have long-term payoff, probably. Like I said before, though, the best you can't beat just having a computer that does nothing but incessantly look at stuff within your niche, Googling it, going to web pages about it, reading about it, watching videos about it, and then just seeing the ads that pop up. Because at least in bigger niches, you're going to find pretty much all the competitors' ads that way, and you can click through their funnels and see them all. You don't need a spy software. Spy software for display ads is more so there for finding profitable offers to rip off. Like if you're looking for niches to get into, basically, that's where that stuff comes in handy. If you just need to know what your competitors are doing, then that's the way. That said, that very well may be what you're trying to do, is find profitable niches itself, of which, right, you could, you could just, browse random things and see what ads pop up. But for the most part, if I'm going to pick a niche to promote on the display network and find profitable funnels to copy and whatnot, I'm going to go to Google Trends and I'm going to see what trends are exploding. Because in those situations, you're going to have a lot of demand with not much supply. Usually. Why? Because it's so early. A, people don't know if it's going to be a trend that lasts. B, there's not enough time that have passed for anybody with real money to build something substantial. So you can ride that wave. And Google Trends does a good job of actually telling you breakout terms. And you'll find product names and stuff like that on there. So you can be like, wow, this infrared wrinkle remover has really got a breakout here. Why don't I start searching around for those and then see the ads that pop up and then copy those? And the downside of doing that type of shit, though, is it's great at first, but then eventually the competition's going to creep in, and then you just have to be better. And if you haven't fundamentally forced yourself to be an excellent advertiser, then you're just going to get your lunch eaten later on. So you'll make a good chunk of money being an amateur advertiser at first, but then it'll wear off. For me, I don't want to screw around with that. I just want to find an evergreen niche, and I just want to kick the crap out of everybody that's in that space. Because at least when it's working, I can have regular employees do the usual day-to-day, and it's just going to keep making money year after year after year after year once I get all that shit set up right. Because it's not quick to create sales funnels and all this stuff. If I'm going to set this up, if I can't make money from it for the next 10 years, I don't want it. Because I want to spend 6 months setting up the funnel and then I earn for the next 10 years. Not I spent 6 months setting it up, making a pile of money, and then in a year it doesn't work anymore. You better be making a lot in that year to make it worth it. I'd rather just find a niche that it's going to be around 20 years from now and just go into that instead. Flame and Anvil, you're the man. Thanks for all your knowledge. No problem, buddy. I try my best, at least. Ultimately, to be a good pay-per-click advertising person, you got to be a good business person at heart to be able to do it right. Because ultimately, like I was saying at the beginning of this live today, the people that are successful versus not successful that I see, they pay attention to the details. And paying attention to the details also means paying attention to what the consumer cares about. Far too many people in business just try to say, I don't have anything special, but I want to ram this sucker down people's throats. And that's not that's just being kind of delusional about the whole situation, because people that make a lot of money usually have to have something that's something spectacular about them in some way to make it last the test of time, and where the margins are good and everything else. And you can actually build a brand, and you got to know how to do all the positioning and everything else. So the ad mechanism is just a tool to get awareness once you already understand what the market wants and creating a good offer. And then all that other stuff is pretty much just formulaic afterwards if you've done that work correctly. You got to, like I was talking about the HELOC before, you got to understand when people buy a HELOC, why do they buy? What are they looking for? What are they really looking for? Yes, I don't want to have to give gift cards out. I just want to offer HELOCs to people who want HELOCs. Bring me people who want HELOCs. I don't have anything special. I just want to sell them a HELOC. Well, that's not where the real money is. You got to figure out how to add value to your market if you're going to really explode in terms of sales, profitability, what you really want at the end of the day versus your 10% growth per year, just grinding it out. And if you can't find something where you're genuinely significantly better than the competition and put something together to make it possible, then get into something else, because you're going to make it unnecessarily hard on yourself for no reason getting into business by not doing anything different than anybody else is doing. You're going to just struggle for no reason. So, and in every niche market, I can go into any niche market and I can find an angle. What's underserved? By just reading the reviews. What is it that people want that I can offer better, clearer, faster than anybody else? And make that your moniker, right? I did it with guaranteedppc.com 14 years ago, or 12. I knew from working at the other marketing agency I worked at as a high-level manager, people wanted guarantees. Well, you can't guarantee everything with advertising, but what can you guarantee? Okay, that now that's our edge. Nobody else offers that. Everybody wants that. Bang, the company worked. You got to figure out how to do that in your own little niche. What do people want that you can give them that they're not getting right now? Maybe that's the design of the product, the actual packaging. You just take the product that exists now, it looks like shit, make it look better. People will assume it's better even though it's just a fancier case. Not to say this has to be, hard to do, but you got to figure out what's going to move the needle, because the advertising itself can only do so much for you. It'll do a lot, but you're going to make it harder on yourself than you need to. I'll answer one more question here and then we'll wrap this up. When would you run 2 separate PMAX feed only for a customer or more against 1 campaign feed only if the profits are different? I have 2 main suppliers, was going to run 1 for each. If you have different products in the different PMAX, and you think that they're going to sell at different rates, it would definitely have it broken into 2 different campaigns, because you can scale the one, whatever one's working better at the time. You could be that's the one that you push the budget up on first. If you have everything mixed together, you can't do that as easily, which is why you want to have different campaigns. Dream Patinda. What platform page builder should I use to create multiple, thousands of pages for SKAG, Easy Way? There are some new tools out there that'll allow you to do dynamic keyword insertion pretty easily and dynamic location insertion pretty easily. For me, it's just easier to hire a VA to bust them out. I mean, we're talking about a VA, 40 hours. We can spend a couple $100 with a VA and get it done. Why do we need to automate this? It doesn't make any financial or logistical sense to do this. We just need to create a screen sharing video showing what to customize on the page. Here's my list of keywords. Go. That's really the more simple solution. Flam and Anvil. Why do all your Google ads not share info? It's a bit counterproductive. It not sharing. It is not. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Are you talking about the data that Google provides you or supposed to provide you they're not sharing? I think that's what you're talking about. And the answer to that is slowly they've turned up the heat with the, like that whole analogy, frog being boiled. You put a frog into a pot of water and heat it up slowly, it'll literally cook them. They'll not realize it's heating up and then they die. Google's hidden more and more data from us so that because it would piss people off and freak them out if they did it all at once. So they're going to turn up the heat slowly. 2, the end goal being that they could sneak in shitty traffic on you and you're not going to realize it because it'll be in the hidden or other terms category or what have you, or other placements. That's the obvious thing to me why they're doing it. And what can you do? I mean, not much, because what's the alternative, right? At the end of the day, Google's going to get by with their bullshit as long as people keep advertising. And when there's no other, alternatives that's even half as good as them right now, then they're going to keep getting by with more and more bullshit. I mean, realistically, you got Facebook ads, but Facebook is so finicky now. They shut accounts down for, breathing wrong on them. And they won't let you say half of what you need to say to make money. And, it's like you don't only have so many choices. I understand why they're doing it. It makes sense to do this stuff because it works. So, but you're still the one in control of what you're spending and what you're being willing to pay for a customer. It's just harder to do it with less data. I agree. But at the same time, none of your competitors have that data either. So, for that matter, last thing I'll say here for real on this live is the other thing that makes you a good marketer and advertiser is being able to do feeling. You got to be able to you're never going to have a complete data set that tells you exactly what to do. You're going to have to go on gut feeling on a lot of things. And ultimately, you're going to have to get good at doing that. And people, they still struggle to do it. And it makes me shake my head, but ask what your consumer would want from you. Don't think about what's going to be great for your company. Think about what the consumer is going to be, what's going to be good for them, and then offer them the best experience possible. And if you do that, you don't need data. Really, at the end of the day, all that stuff's just nice supplemental stuff. So I know that's not the best solution or answer to what you had mentioned there, but if you constantly push the envelope on providing the user a better experience, you're never going to not win or lack money, because the consumer is buying the experience. They want to see, and the experience is the product or service, yes, but it's also the process of buying it as well. And if you just use common sense about how they want to buy and then giving it to them, you don't need a lot of data. You set up your tracking and you let the algorithm use the data to optimize. And from there, you just use your common sense to give them something to optimize that's probably going to work for the consumer, because you thought about the consumer first. You didn't think about, like all these companies are doing, using chat, bots to do their live chat and all the rest of this stuff. The consumer doesn't want to talk to a bot, but for some damn reason, they're hell-bent on using bots for live chat. So, sure, you don't have to pay somebody to do it. Bravo, save some money. Then the consumer just got pissed off and they didn't buy from you. So you don't see that in the numbers and the data, so therefore you don't do it. You got to use your common sense though still. Anyway, we'll wrap it up with that, guys. You did had a lot of good questions for me. Appreciated everything that you contributed. Hopefully also you guys watching that didn't ask a question, you got a lot out of this. And obviously on the rewatch, we'll do another Q&A next week, and stay tuned. A couple days, we'll have our live Q&A update. We have new lead generation accounts coming, where on the live optimization, we're going to be introducing multiple new guys, not just the typical 3 e-commerce guys that we've had, and do an update there. Start bringing in and start optimizing their accounts. We'll be bringing the old guys back after some period of time has passed, and we've seen how well they're going to do, mainly just because they're doing well and they don't need no more help. They don't need me to repeat to them the same stuff I've said already. So we'll invite them back later. And in the meantime, we'll bring on some other new guys. You can kind of see some other businesses, how we would optimize those. And hopefully it's maybe closer to what you already have. Okay. Thank you. See you later, guys. Bye.